Do you ever find yourself scrolling on social media and all of a sudden you start the comparison trap or you just feel like shit afterwards? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we have social media digital marketing guru Cynthia Sassy here to talk about what's behind the scenes of social media and the realities of what is and what is not. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind. Welcome, Miss Cynthia Sassy. Yay! Do you like sound effects? Woo! For those of you who, yes, welcome. I'm so excited. We've been trying to do this and I got you on while Amanda is on maternity leave. She sends me a daily picture of her baby. It's like my dopamine hit. So for those of you, I don't know where you've been living, but Cynthia is an amazing human, one of my oldest friends. Cynthia has been a force in the online publishing industry for over a decade, working with some of the nation's most respected brands and publications along the way. She is an authority on the subjects of online publishing, social media, digital marketing, and web design. She is the president and founder of the online magazine Fabulous Arizona and its parent company, Fabulous Media Group. Cynthia is a fixture in the Arizona community. She also is the co-founder of digital marketing agency Say Less Media and luxury travel magazine Lux Getaways. In her spare time, Cynthia speaks on subjects ranging from digital media to female entrepreneurship in the 21st century and is equally the coolest dog mom as I am. So welcome, Cynthia, to our little podcast here. I'm excited to have you on, as I've had conversations on this podcast about social media and specifically around the fitness influencer, because, as you just turned 40, I'm over 40. We see these women, we see these individuals, and they look so amazing. And we think we can look like that. And everyone tries to, and they don't realize how much is going on in the background. Not to see that everyone on social media is, completely false and filtered and all of the things, but it's really creating I would say it's exacerbating our issues with body image that were already an issue in the first place. And so I'm glad to have you on to give a little bit of perspective, both from the good and the bad, because I do think obviously social media can be such an amazing place to educate. I mean, you've done that for female entrepreneurs and digital marketing and all of those things. So I'm excited to have you here. All right. So I want to talk about, the way when I talk to people about you, I've actually talked about you on this podcast, said that you were an influencer before influencing was a thing. I remember when you were building your online presence because you had already worked in other organizations prior to, when Instagram became a thing, like you kind of ran with it. I'd like for you to just share your journey as like an influencer before social media was what it is today and kind of the comparison of what it looked like then versus now.
Yeah, well, when I got involved, Instagram didn't even exist yet. It literally wasn't even a thing yet. So, and I feel like there's some people that are like, what? When was Instagram not a thing? But I got involved in the digital publishing space in 2007. So like Facebook just started, it was all so new. And I was really lucky I got, into a career in digital marketing. So really in this space that was up and coming and brand new. And in 2010, I went full-time self-employed and launched Fabulous Arizona, or not full-time self-employed then, but that's when I launched FabulousArizona.com, which is an online lifestyle magazine. And I didn't have any marketing budget or, investors or anything like that. So I had to just, boots on the ground, word of mouth, get the word out about this magazine that I had launched. And the best way to do that was to just attend every event in town and use my Facebook account to just post about the things I was doing and the places I was going and what I was covering. And what I started to realize is that it was giving me this opportunity to kind of spread the word about what Fabulous Arizona was, because as I'm posting about what I'm doing and where I'm going, it's content that's relevant to, who would be a reader for Fabulous Arizona. So I didn't realize at the time, because obviously an influencer wasn't a thing, but by posting
Mhm.
everything I was doing and everywhere I was going, people were like, oh, that's cool. I want to go to that. Or, I'm going to go to that event, or I'm going to go check out that restaurant. And so I started having businesses wanting to work with me to promote their businesses, whether that be products or gyms or restaurants, and,
Mhm.
hosting events, which, you remember coming to those things with me. Yeah. And so it was something that, again, wasn't defined at the time. And we were just kind of figuring it out. And when I was starting to post, there were so many people that were like, this is so annoying. Like, why isn't they posting everything she's doing? But quite frankly,
I
if I
did not
didn't,
find it annoying. I was like, oh, I'm gonna
but there were definitely some people that were like,
go.
what is this girl doing, posting everything she's doing on social media?
Mhm.
Because it wasn't like now where you have Instagram stories and you just document your
Mhm.
cup of coffee that you had that morning. Like, it was a way different landscape at that time. And, again, Instagram didn't exist, especially Instagram stories. Snapchat wasn't there yet. So, all of that real time posting that we do now was not a thing back then. And so,
Mhm.
so it was really kind of, I was ahead of the curve, I guess, if you will. And I gained quite a few haters in doing that, but I wouldn't have been able to grow Fabulous Arizona to what it is today without having taken on, the hate and the judgment, by doing that.
Yeah, I remember it, and it was crazy to like watch you go through this because there was no like book on this. There was no like, manuscript on how to do this the right way. And people were so quick to judge whether it was you on the news or on, speaking events. And it's kind of crazy to think that that's even gotten like 10 times worse now, because when it was starting, people were so quick to judge, but you were a pioneer and you kind of just figured it out on what this looked like, and you didn't really give a shit what other people thought, and that is a testament to how you've been able to build yourself to this day. But back then, like, how were you able to have like that thick skin of like, I'm just going to keep going. Like, I don't give a shit what you guys say. I'm going to keep doing this thing that's kind of the Wild West and nobody really knows how to do it. How are you able to find that strength?
Not going to lie and say that it wasn't hard, because I mean,
Cool.
we're all going to, be offended by certain things, or, feel a certain way about something. And there were definitely times that I was like, oh, that didn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But, the upside of it far outweighed that. So I just kept forging ahead with what I was doing, because there was enough upside to it to be able to, block out the negative.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, and I think that again is a testament to your character. And, for those of you listening, because we do have a lot of clients and listeners who are coaches, are entrepreneurs, are women who are in, C-level high positions, and just realizing like a lot of that stuff comes from, I personally think as a therapist, it comes from this, I can't be it. So I'm going to try to bring that person down with me, right? I don't have that tenacity. I don't have even just the lifestyle that you create. So I'm going to try to make this person feel bad and troll them and do all the things. So totally not the conversation I was going to have today. But for those of you who are doing this, just remember, just keep going. But bringing it back to social media, like, how do you feel like social media has evolved in shaping beauty standards in the female image itself? Are we moving forward or backwards?
Um, I think it's evolved quite a bit since when I first started to, 5 years ago to now.
Mhm.
It's evolved and changed a lot, I think. When we first started on Facebook, you would have your, camera that you would take photos on, throughout the night, and then you would upload them and do a whole album on Facebook, and it
Oh,
would
yeah.
be every photo you took that weekend. So, there
Yes.
wasn't this focus on this one perfect image that you see a lot of, that it started with, on Instagram, it was you have this perfectly edited photo that you would post. This was before carousels on Instagram, and you would be able to pick one picture that you could post in a feed post, and it had to be
Mhm.
perfect. And so I think we just became really obsessed with that one perfect photo for each event or each evening that we, did things that we wanted to post. And then came in all of the editing apps,
Yep.
Facetune, Perfect 365, all these things. And even I would find myself like filling in my eyebrows, or, just these
Hmm.
little tiny things that you start um, fixating on. And you start noticing
Right.
every little thing that you feel like needs to be fixed when you start editing your photos like that. And it's like, oh goodness. And I think we've thankfully have moved away from that a little bit in the
Hmm.
last few years. Obviously, a new trend that I'm seeing with some of the younger crowd, I guess, would be kind of these more candid, distorted, not so perfect
Yep.
shots. You're seeing kind of like the blurry photos and, dark low lights and, that sort of thing. I mean, obviously people still want to make sure they look good when they post something. So
Right.
that's not going to change. People aren't posting their bad photo. And I know I personally, anytime I take a photo, I've got my pose down and I know like I have to
Hmm.
stand like this to make my legs look
We know our
slim. And
sides, and we have
yes,
the
we know our
same good side.
sides. It's very unfortunate.
It is, and I always give her the side, so I just want to let everyone know that.
But yeah, my sister and I have
Let
the
me
same good
fix
side
this real
too, and
quick.
I always sacrifice for her. But yeah, I mean, we know our poses, and we're not going to post a photo that we feel like we don't look good in. So I mean, that's always
Mhm.
going to be there. But I do think the level of editing has become more of a, um, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost tacky to like, over edit
Mhm.
your photos now. Whereas before it was
Mhm.
like if you didn't face tune every wrinkle out of your face, it was, what were you posting it for?
Yeah.
So
It
it's
almost ages
definitely
you at this point. If you're like
yeah,
overdoing
yeah,
it, you're now
yeah.
like, a grandma.
Yes, exactly.
So
So
that's
I think
true.
it's changed and it's kind of moved in a better direction of like more realistic and less, less edited, I guess.
You know what's interesting is I like my niece who's 17 or 16, she only posts like once every, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe.
Mhm.
And obviously, she's not a business, but her friends are similar. They'll have 7 posts on their entire feed. And that's very different from like us back in the day,
Mhm.
where it was every day you're posting something and something new. She doesn't even do stories half the time. So there's definitely this transition of I'll do it here and there. Maybe they're on other platforms that I'm too old to understand. But I definitely see a change in just the amount of posts that the younger crowd is doing, which maybe it's a good thing, having a little bit of moderation with it.
Yeah, and we might post things we'll regret someday, so it's better to maybe keep that stuff
True.
off the permanent feed. But I do know that the younger generation is definitely, I mean, Snapchat seems so archaic right now, but I do know that a lot of them are still using Snapchat for like
Hmm.
just conversing with their friends, like in real time.
Yeah.
So I think that they seem to not be as focused on these permanent, postings. Whereas for us, I feel like in our demographic, we're kind of posting these things as like a place to, save memories and then obviously as a business, that's a whole
Right.
different conversation. But personally, I feel like we're posting things as a way to save these memories.
No, absolutely. And from a business perspective, for me, it is a struggle because in my industry, obviously, the beauty standard has not it's changed to the like strong woman that strength trains, and that's really been a big shift because before it was like cardio, 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 get small, be small, lose weight, and it's definitely shifting to this like strong is sexy. However, there is so you watch some of these videos and it's so unrealistic, but because there isn't this face to face connection with that person. You just take what is on their video or whatever it is as real, right? So I think of one of the gals that I think you and I had a conversation about her. She has a pretty big following and she has this like perfect bubble butt. But she in one of her photos you can tell she's wearing a like I don't know what we would call it, like a foam ass some
Like
sort.
the padded, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like a padding. And, for the everyday woman who's looking at that, now she's a younger girl, so her demographic is different. But even for those girls, they're thinking in their head, well, if I do her exercise and I do her diet and her program, I'm going to look like her. I'm going to have that ass. Or the women who have the BBLs but are promoting doing glute work, for me, that's where it becomes really of a struggle. And not for me specifically, because I have good boundaries around that, but for my clientele, right? They've followed these women. These women might be their age, but they don't realize, and I've talked about this on this podcast, that the woman has a mommy makeover, a tummy tuck is on Ozempic, but she's promoting this program while we're over here just trying to be authentic and real and be like, yeah, I have stretch marks and I, sometimes, eat pizza with my husband and drink with my friends. And this is what we do. And this is balance. And we just find it so hard to make being real sexy. Do you struggle with that? Like, how do we work around that to like make this, or do you think that that's where we're going, of like the real image, the real person, the less filtered and fake? Is there a future where that's going to be popular? Because I need to know for my own business.
I sure hope so. I mean, I think especially with reels, it became this like, you need to have some, capture people really fast with some really crazy headline. And so it's turned into this like, very, everything is lose weight fast, do this one thing, and it's like, that's not real life. That's not how this stuff works. And I think especially as we've gotten older, you really start to realize how every single person's body is different and we all respond to things differently. We all need different things. And what I love about what you do is the, psychological component of, weight and how we feel about our bodies and how we lose weight. Plays such a key role. I mean, I know for me, just stress and, managing that has affected my weight. And so, these people that are just selling this, like, this is the solution, like a catch-all, thing, it's not real. And I think people are getting better at like noticing and understanding that a lot of this is just sales garbage and, but
clickbait.
There was, yeah, clickbait. I feel like a couple years ago, everyone was like, oh my gosh, jumping on these things that seem to be something that they're not. And now it's gotten so saturated that I think people are seeing these and starting to like understand like, okay, this is not real, or this looks a little too salesy. I'm going to do my research. So I'm hoping that it's going that direction as people are getting more educated and understanding that, a lot of people are doing this, like you said, it's clickbait. People are doing this to get, a quick sale, click through to their website, whatever it is. They're trying to grab attention, get views, and get clicks.
Yeah. It almost makes you feel good because we've tried what, as a company, we've spent money on people guiding us through this process. And oftentimes they put us in the same category as your traditional coaching. Not that there's anything wrong with traditional coaching, but we have our thing. It's adding that psychological aspect. And when we try the clickbaity stuff, it doesn't actually work for our company, which tells me in my mind, like that's a good thing. Like people who are following us, who do like our content, like it because it's educational, it's real, it's not this
it's relatable. It's not some, it's not some unattainable thing that you wish you could be, but it's like, oh, these are my people. This is,
we want to be your people. So speaking of that, like, how do you feel, like, how have you seen, maybe just for yourself, I always like to share stories, like how has social media like impacted like your sense of self-worth, and how do you think as women it continues to impact the way that we feel about ourselves and the choices that we make? I know you kind of touched on that, but would you add anything to that, maybe from personal story or what you've seen in the I guess we'll call it the community itself?
Well, I think obviously like we are all guilty of comparing ourselves as we're scrolling the news feed of like, oh, that person looks great or this person looks really good. But I think that if it's like really upsetting you to see like someone else looking good, there's probably something going on internally that you probably need to address. I feel like whether it's physically or somebody's success or whatever it is, if it's really upsetting you to see somebody else doing well, that's probably something that you need to reflect on personally. And there is a mute button for a reason. So if you're just like mentally not in a good place and there's stuff online that's hurting your mental health, like, one, if you don't do it for a living like we do, just stay off of it for maybe a little while, take a break,
Mm-hmm.
or just, mute some people and follow accounts that do make you feel good and because I mean, social media can be a really positive thing when
Mm-hmm.
you're, following the right accounts or following the right people, the things that make you feel good, things that maybe motivate you, things that are going to help get you to that good mental place. There's definitely, uses for that as well. You have the ability to, in a way, craft your feed. And
Yep.
so you don't have to unfollow people. I mean, if you really feel like you need to, that's fine. But if you don't want to start that drama, I
Right.
think, you can certainly mute people. But I have personally have had people unfollow me because, you know, things that I was posting about for my business and that sort of thing, they were not in a good place and it affected them and they, had to unfollow me. And that's fine. I,
Mm-hmm.
totally understand that and respect that. People need to, you know, build those boundaries and do things that make them feel good. So,
Mm-hmm.
you have that ability to kind of tailor what you're seeing in that feed.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was that said this, but they talk about like your social media, like imagining it as if it was your home, right? And who you allow in your home. And if someone was, running around your house, like with their, just, I'm comparing this to some of the fitness influencers running around your house with their ass hanging out, you probably would ask them to leave, right? Like, not appropriate for my house, right? Or saying negative things, or even just having someone in your home that's kind of sucking the energy or making you feel bad about yourself, or you are comparing to, you're going to set that boundary and ask that person to leave your home. And I think with social media, we really have to have those boundaries because there is, an increase in depression. There's an increase in eating disorders. There's an increase in body dysmorphia. And there's an increase, and I'm going to forget the name of this dysmorphia that's actually your digital dysmorphia of women who have filtered themselves so much on their photos that they have this dysmorphia in real life
Mhm.
because they've filtered their photos so much. And so that's a different kind of boundary. That's more of you need to check yourself, as you mentioned. But if we know that it's hurting us, we know that statistically we're seeing this rise in these mental health issues. If we can think about it like the house and saying, okay, like I wouldn't let someone in my house who deliberately, I shouldn't say deliberately because it is secondary, but is making me sad, is making me feel shame or guilt or comparison or whatever that it is, then I shouldn't let it on my feed. I interrupt this episode to bring you our December promo, and this is our introductory offer on the Mindset Method Movement, our revamped group coaching program. This program is unlike any other group coaching program out on the market and is going to be priced so competitively because we want everyone to take advantage of this. In our program, you will begin working from the inside out on your relationship with your body, food, and self-worth through the Mindset Method curriculum. In my Mindset of Matter app, every Monday, you will receive a reflection that will help you work through why you struggle with control over food, why your food noise is so loud, why you hate the image you see in the mirror. Then from there, you get to take the information that you've learned and bring it to one of two coaching calls per week. Yes, per week. And for those who sign up now, you'll be working directly with me. So you get to process all of that stuff with yours truly. You'll also get access to our on-demand training program that includes gym, at-home, time crunch, body weight, and core workouts that change every single month and all build on each other to basically create the body of your dreams. You will get custom nutrition coaching from one of my expert coaches, depending on your specific needs, whether that's autoimmune issues, peri-post menopause, prenatal or postnatal, or general nutrition. We have someone here at the Mindset That Matter for you. And last but not least, you will have access to an amazing community of like-minded individuals who are looking to do something different in regards to changing their relationship with themselves mentally and physically. And for this introductory offer, we are offering our group coaching program for $275 a month with a 30-day cancellation notice. This is literally the same price that other coaching programs charge just for nutrition coaching. And if you sign up in December, you will be moved right into our Winter Wellness Challenge. You're going to jump right in, and we're going to do that at no additional cost. So you can start working with us today at no additional costs. So if you're ready to change your relationship with yourself through your mindset, through your movement, through your nutrition, check out the show notes below for more information. Now, back to the show. I as you know, and my listeners know, have really struggled the past couple of weeks. And it's crazy to me. I find myself getting consumed in social media, and I'll just sit there and I'll put my phone down and I'll grab it again and I'll be back on it. And I realized it was an escape too.
Yeah.
Right. And escape from what? I don't know, because it's, I do have a lot of things on my feed that are therapeutic and self-care, but it wasn't helping me do anything. So even recently, like as a therapist, as someone who's very in tune with my mental health, I found myself kind of getting sucked in, and I had to create that boundary. And I've talked on here, there's some really cool apps where there's one that you have to do 10 squats or 10 push-ups.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it's called like,
and you earn time on your social media. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good for our clients. But like you said, there's the mute button. I have unfollowed a lot of people because I'm sure you do too. Like, it's not serving me. If I start questioning myself, questioning my business, questioning whatever because of someone else's photo, like that's an issue. And for our listeners, clean up your social media. It will make your life better. And like you said, there's so many positives to it. And so as somebody who's been on both sides, right, how do you think influencers then need to take responsibility for what they post and the effects it has on their particular audiences? Because it does seem like some people really just don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And, I feel like that's kind of a personal ethical thing, really, unless they're, breaking some laws or something. Some people, they'll just post whatever will get them the views or whatever is going to sell their, class or whatever they're selling. And so I obviously feel like and I know a lot of my influencer friends as well, feel like they have they owe it to their followers to show something authentic, to show something that's real, and to be honest with them, and not to be recommending things that they genuinely wouldn't recommend, and that sort of thing. So it's a personal responsibility, and it's kind of on the influencer. Really, it's not something that's regulated for the most part, aside from like the FTC, and so again, it's kind of like it's up to the user to decide like who should they be following. And you can get on that discovery page and come across all kinds of accounts that you necessarily wouldn't follow. And that's always interesting. But again, you've got the control over who you follow, what content you consume.
Yeah. No, and for those, because we do have people who run businesses and have their own social media accounts, and a lot of our clients, they're kind of in the beginning stages of building these things out, or they're in the same, I don't know what to do with all of this. And what I'm hearing you say is just that authenticity, but also like kind of sharing in a way that mimics your own values, your own morals. Like that's kind of where we're hoping things are going. And so for those of you listening, whether you're coaches or entrepreneurs, being able to just realize that even if you see that person who is that clickbaity person who's doing it for the views, someone told me once 1 million views doesn't equal $1 million. And I think that's important for people to know, to be authentic, to be, to have your own integrity is going to go a lot further when it comes to business and building a brand than that clickbaity, just trying to get the quick sell.
It's quality over quantity, right? I mean, I'd rather have 5 really good followers that are going to, buy whatever I'm selling than 1,000 followers that are just not interested in what I'm doing. So I think focusing on posting the content that attracts the right people, which you've been doing, very well, is more important than growing fast or, views.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. I've seen people grow. I'm sure you have too, grow very fast and then burn. Yeah. Whether it was because they didn't have the process in place or they were the face of, I've seen this in the fitness space where the coach was the one that had the major weight loss. So then they become the authority in weight loss. But that doesn't, just because someone's lost weight doesn't mean they're an expert in weight loss, right? But then they put themselves, their before and after pictures, they're constantly the face of the brand, and they get burnt out, or again, a little bit of both. They don't have the process, the team, whatever in place, where they'll go up really high and then crash down. And it's sad to see, and I'm annoyed with social media half the time, but I also know that the way that we're growing is exactly where we need to be, because the more that I get all my process and everything in place, the better I'm able to serve the people I want to serve. And so I say this again for any of you listening who are entrepreneurs, of just because someone has 1 million followers doesn't mean that they're going to be this wonderfully successful business owner. They may just crash and burn at some point. So,
and also, I mean, social media is a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like, how many of those followers are real is always another question too.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to take all that stuff with a grain of salt, I think. And and I think it's great for people to share, like, if they've, had some amazing success, whether it be weight loss, business, whatever, to share their experience as inspiration. But unless you have like a actual education or, some kind of certification or something to be, giving advice on this, like, I don't think that's, necessarily like, now I'm an expert on this thing and I'm going to, sell it to everybody on social media.
Yeah. I'm sure you see people like trying to do your job.
Yes.
Someone had a TikTok go viral and now they're the expert in digital marketing,
Yes.
Happens way too much. Or I see people who are like life coaches all of a sudden, and I'm like, what training do you have? Like, I just like helping people. I'm really good at it. I'm like, that's great. I'm really good at, I'm a really good dancer. You don't see me trying to try out for the Rockettes right now. Maybe when I was younger. Let's talk about
a lot of this stuff is phases though. And, I think some of the stuff's starting to phase out a little bit. I feel like a few years ago, literally everyone was a life coach.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that
It's
a lot of
hilarious.
this stuff is phasing out. And I've seen a lot of people that, have come out saying they're, doing whatever, and then they drop off, kind of like you were just saying. So, so I think the right, things will weed out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, I don't think COVID helped any of this, because then everyone was online, and that was the way that you found your, person, whether it was your customer, your client, whatever it was. And now I definitely agree with that. It's so crazy to me how many coaching programs came about, like coaching programs to coach coaches, right? To build brands, to coach the individual, whoever they are. And you would see these people, like, I think of you, like, if I'm going to ask someone for advice, I'm going to ask someone who's been in business as long as you have, who has built from the ground up, who has, like, I think more importantly, like that sustainability that you've created. I'm going to talk to you. But there were so many people who just, maybe they made 10 grand one month and they're like, I'll teach you to make $10,000 a month. It's like,
yeah.
And again, you see them kind of crashing and burning, and it's sad. Obviously, you don't want to see people, and in any business, obviously that can happen, but it's just the whole COVID thing made the online space crazy. Yes. So let's talk about the positives though. Like, how do you feel with, as a female entrepreneur, as someone in this space, how is social media here to help empower women? What are you seeing out there? Or maybe even some accounts that you follow. I know I wasn't going to have you bring this on, but if you could think of any, let our people know.
Yeah, well, I think that it's afforded us the ability to connect with, people. Like, think about all the followers that you have for your business, that how would you have reached them without the ability of social media? There's a lot of positives in that sense, that it's allowed us to reach the people that we have. My business is obviously built on, reaching people through digital. So my business wouldn't be what it is today without that. So, I mean, it's definitely afforded us to do so much more than we could have in a brick and mortar world. So, so that's the big positive. I can't tell you how many people that I have on my Instagram account that I have never met in person, and we are just pumping each other up in the DMs every day.
I love it.
It's
I love it.
you have that ability to like meet some really amazing people and connect with people. I have people in other countries that I talk to on Instagram that, you know, how else would I have met them? So I think that that networking and that connection virtually is really cool, both personally
It
and
really
professionally.
is. No, it really is. I mean, we have clients in New Zealand, Australia, and Europe. And again, we would never be able to meet those women. And it's so great for us. And I'm getting for you too of, wow, this message really, I mean, it's a true message to women all over the world, you know, and to be able to connect with those women and help them through their struggles with food and body obsession is wonderful. And it does empower, and there is a lot of positives from it, especially if you do what you had already mentioned of kind of cleaning it up and creating a space or a home environment that is empowering, that is validating, that is, you know, helping you feel and be the best version of yourself, because there is so much knowledge and support, I think, that social media can bring, as long as we have those boundaries in place. And so what advice would you give women to, you know, build that healthy relationship with social media, staying authentic and protecting their self-worth, if anything that you haven't already mentioned?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there is the as a, you know, poster side and as a consumer side. And so, you know, especially if you're a business or personally, you know, posting stuff out there, you know, thinking about what you want, what message do you want to share? What do you want to be putting out there? I mean, it's nice to share, like, people love to see, you know, their people's kids and what they did for the holidays and stuff like that. And that's great. But also mixing in, like, if there is something that you're passionate about, and that could be baking, that could be motivating people, whatever
I
it
have a
is.
client that builds like charcuterie boards and she loves it.
Amazing. Yeah. And so
And
it's
they're
like,
beautiful.
if that's, yeah. And so maybe that'll inspire somebody else to go build a charcuterie board and make them happy.
I love
So
a good
just thinking
charcuterie
about
board.
that stuff that like you want to be putting out there that make other people feel good. I know like everything's a highlight reel, but I also don't think it's, you know, benefits anybody to like dump and put negative stuff out there either. People go on these platforms to feel good, to be entertained, you know, those sorts of things. So I just like, you know, I recommend not posting that kind of stuff, but also being real and authentic. And you have to, as a consumer, go on there and know that this is everyone's highlight reels. Like, we're all dealing with our own shit. Like, literally every single person, no matter how perfect their life looks on Instagram, has some shit going on that you just don't know about, and they're not posting about it for very good reasons. So
Right.
I think going in, consuming that, understanding that is key, and knowing that the algorithm will show you things based on what you interact with. So don't interact with things that you don't like. You
Yes.
know, maybe, you know, if you save something, if you share something, those are things that tell Instagram, hey, this person likes this content, and it's going to show you more of that. So if I go into my discovery page, all of my discovery page stuff is dogs, motivational quotes, and running videos.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
I accidentally clicked on these. So I bought these pajamas that I have, and this company just puts different things. Mine have like tequila bottles all over them. And I was thinking of getting some for Christmas gifts, but they were Taylor Swift pajamas. So then all of my feed became Taylor Swift, because it just happened to be that company, but it was a Taylor Swift type. And I was like, you know, guys, you can go in and be like, this ad is irrelevant. I will be that person and be like, I don't want to fucking see this anymore. Like, take this off of my page. Yes. It's just Taylor Swift stuff.
That's good. I clicked on this AI generated video that was so weird. It was like cinnamon rolls, and then the cinnamon rolls turned into dogs. It was like very kind of creeping me out. It was very weird. But apparently this is some trend right now where they're using AI to like make food into animals. And
Really?
I shared one to somebody because I was like, this is weird. And then that like they just kept coming up in my feed, and I was like, no more. I don't want to see this.
Yeah. So for you guys listening, you can literally go like, I don't want to see like this ad. Yeah. Or whatever it is. And then get out of there. Amanda was saying that there's also, and I haven't figured out what feature this is, where you can just look at your friends on your post. or on
Yeah,
your
so now
timeline?
there's different feeds that you can select. So you can have because now that they do the algorithm feed where it's like they can throw people you don't follow in there, they've
Mhm.
given you this option where you can select just your friends or close friends and that sort of thing so that you can just scroll through because a lot of times I feel like we miss like our close friends stuff because they don't come
Yes.
up in our feed because there's just so much, especially when you're like I'm following 6,000 people. Like how on
Right.
earth would I see 6,000 people's different posts? So it gives you that opportunity for like to make sure you don't miss things of your close friends. So that's another
Mhm.
thing that you can do is switch your feed to just people that you want to see, and just look
Mhm.
at that one.
No, that's a good one. And I didn't realize that until Amanda told me. It really is becoming so many like ads and stuff. But
Yeah.
cool. Well, I want to, and you didn't know I was going to do this. I like to end with my mindset moment rapid fire question. So you get one. I'm going to ask you a question. The first thing that comes to your mind,
Ooh,
you can answer. You
I'm
ready?
terrible with on the spot stuff, but go ahead.
That's okay. How do you find true inner confidence?
um I feel like I've like lived a life of imposter syndrome. So the lack of confidence I feel like is always there to some degree.
Hmm.
But I love that whole idea of like, why can't that be me? I feel like so many times we look at somebody on social media, for example, and
Hmm.
think, oh gosh, they're so pretty or they're this or they're that. And it's like, well, why can't that also be me? So I think having that mentality of, I can be that too, is kind
Hmm.
of what keeps me going.
I love that. Absolutely. It's true because if you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, what's your favorite way to quiet the noise in your head?
Um, I try to like go for a walk, play with the
Hmm.
dogs, something that like
Hmm.
takes my mind off of, whatever else is going on. Yeah.
Love it. Can you share a tip for breaking unrealistic health expectations?
Um, Gosh, a tip. I don't know if I have a tip. Sorry.
Well, I think for you, I mean, even just what you've shared is there's a lot of unrealistic shit out there.
Yeah.
And by educating yourself on what is good for you and what is just someone trying to make money off of you. I think that's an awesome tip that you shared
Yeah.
that people
Well,
don't
and I
realize.
think also like you scroll your news feed and then you go and out in the real world and you see that like we all look kind of the same. Like everybody looks different. We
Yes,
all like we don't all look like this Instagram feed that we're looking at. So
it's
that would
so
probably be my
true.
tip is just look around at reality.
That's a great tip because you're right. Like it really is a totally different world, right? If it was up to Instagram, everyone on my feed would be walking around with those stupid leggings that like scrunch in the butt, and everyone would have like what look like these big ass. I don't know. There's a new thing where guys wear those now, and I'm
Oh,
like, get this
really?
off of my feed. I can't handle this.
Oh.
It's making me uncomfortable. It's making me uncomfortable. All right. What's one mindset shift that has transformed your approach to your own health?
Um, Understanding that it's not all or nothing. I think for a
Love.
long time, and you probably remember this, probably even 10 years ago, I was just so all
Mhm.
or nothing. It would be like a crazy juice cleanse or,
Right.
2 workouts a day. And it was just
Mhm.
like, lately my big thing has been let's get 1,000 more steps a day, or let's
Love
cut
it.
out this one, sweet thing that I like to eat every day, or, just
Mhm.
one changing one little thing. And then like those little things will compound to a bigger thing. So that's been really
Yep.
huge for me.
We're big on that. We're big on what we call like your floor or your minimums. Like, what are the small little changes you can make, doing those consistently, and then building on them over time, or just making those like your non negotiables. It's
Yeah.
so, so important. With that said, like, how do you stay motivated on tough days? Because obviously you have so much going on. How on those days you're like, I just want to lay in bed. Do you just lay in bed, which would also be an option, but how do you stay motivated?
Don't. I think just something in me since I was little, I just like I get up and go. Like there's just no
Mhm.
like I will beat myself up, which is also probably not good. But if I don't do something that I said I was going to do, like I will beat myself up for it. So
Yeah.
I have everything goes on my calendar, and if it's on my calendar, it's happening. So I literally
Mhm.
have my daily walk in my calendar.
Good.
I use Motion app, and I
Mhm.
plug in all my different tasks for the day, and I literally plug in walking the
Oh.
dogs and a personal walk and a workout into my Motion calendar to make sure that like I don't have my work, just taking over the entire day, and then I haven't made any time for doing those things.
How is Motion? I see it all the time. I don't.
You probably get lots of ads for it.
I do. They're like, get this girl some organization already. She's a hot mess. So, do you like it?
No, I love it. I got it. I actually got sold on it for like their New Year campaign 2 years ago. And the first like 6 months, I was kind of sort of using it, like not really that into it yet. And then once I got like really started putting everything in the calendar, I can't live without it. Like it is just like life changing for me, because I feel like as business owners, everything feels important. And so it makes it really hard for me to prioritize. And I just am like, oh my God, I have this million-mile long to-do list and I don't know where to start. And so this way with Motion, I plug in how much time each task I think will take, which obviously is an estimate. Sometimes it's more or less. And then I plug in the deadline of like when it needs to be done. And sometimes there's self-imposed deadlines, but it helps to like be like, okay, I want to have this done by Friday. And then it'll, based off of your deadlines, it'll, build your schedule of tasks based on when things are due. So that way I'm not sitting there, paralyzed of what do I start with? It tells me I'm going to do this task next. And so, so that's been really helpful.
Everyone listening is like downloading Motion right now.
I swear I get so much more work done because of it, because it just helps me. Like I sit down every morning and I look at everything on the schedule that I have to do that day, and I'm like, cool. And like I said, I build in lunch, I build in my walks, my workouts, walking the dogs, like everything's built in there. So that way all my work stuff's scheduled around that.
So smart. So smart. Well, that was the next question is, what is one book or resource that has greatly influenced you? Would you add anything else?
I mean, I have my Apple Watch, and I know like it can be good or bad because, you get a little obsessive over closing the rings and, your steps and everything. But something that I started doing, I used to just close the rings, and then I started noticing my steps, and I was like, oh, I'm not getting nearly as many steps as I thought I was. So so now I'm also trying to hit the 10,000 steps a day, which when you work from a computer is really hard. You don't realize it until you start tracking it, and then you're like, holy crap, like it's hard to get steps. And so I got a walking treadmill, but it's just like it's motivated me to just move more in general, just getting up, walking around, going for a walk around the block, whatever. So I'm like love my Apple Watch.
Yeah. It really is important because people don't realize that you can be sedentary even though you work out every day. Because think about how if you were just sitting for the rest of the day and you did a 45-minute workout, you are a sedentary person. The majority of your day is being sedentary. So we also have the walking pad. I do a walk in the morning. I also try to walk after each meal just to help with like digestion and blood sugar regulation. But it also hurts to sit down all the time. I have a recliner chair. This chair reclines. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, it's from Amazon. Last thing. What role does mindset play in your achievements? Obviously, you've already kind of touched on that. Like,
I mean, it's everything. I tell people like mindset's everything. And I feel like there's a lot of people that have the woe is me mindset of like they'll find every excuse for why things didn't go their way, and they can't work out because of this, or they can't be successful because of that. And it's it's really all mindset. And so I try to have a really optimistic mindset as much as I can and try and look at the bright side of things and the positive things and just, focus on that. So I just, when I wake up in the morning, I try to like think about, things that I'm excited to get out of bed for instead of laying there like, oh, this sucks. We're really like, I think thinking about things from a perspective of we have only so much time on this earth. And if you're spending days just wishing them away or, wishing for the weekends or whatever, like that's not a way to live. So I think just, really being grateful, the gratitude mindset, I think is so key.
Absolutely. It saved my life. Really. I remember just being so negative and victim mentality and just a mess. And I had to go through that breakup. Right. And this is right before you and I got really close and had to do my own healing and my own work because I was letting my mind kind of dictate everything when I was like, wait a minute, I'm the one who's in charge of this thing. Yeah. Right. And we don't realize that. I always tell my clients, you are not your thoughts. You're the thinker of your thoughts. And if you're the thinker of the thought of your thoughts, you have control. You have an option, so good. I love it. Well, awesome. Well, I hope everyone can, just take away a little bit more about how to create boundaries around what you're exposing yourself to. I talked about my own experience of kind of getting sucked into what is social media. And I know for a lot of our clients, whether it's building their own business, building their own brand, or just someone who really likes going on social media, we need to pay attention to how it's affecting us mentally and emotionally and physically, right? If we're putting our phone down and we feel a lot of shame, we feel a lot of guilt, then taking what Cynthia said and creating some of those boundaries, as well as, creating an environment like you would in your home that serves you and your authentic self, right? And we as a community talk a lot about that and who we are, we're striving to be. We want to make sure everything in our life is a testament to that and reflects that. So hopefully you guys can take away some amazing information. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us. It's been so cool to watch you, grow to this place that you have and establish yourself in this community as really like an authority figure, as like I said, a pioneer, and doing it as a strong woman is so amazing. And as my friend, I'm so proud of you. And I thank you for jumping on our little podcast.
Of course. Yay. Thank you. I am honored to be here, and the feelings are mutual.
Yeah. We're going to actually, guys, Cynthia was in person. It was like, will you just go on your own already? Like, why are you working? Remember that text? You're like, why are you working for somebody else? And I'm like, you're right. So here we are. And we're going to have our 100th episode on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we'll have our 100th episode on the podcast on Thanksgiving. So all very exciting.
Well, congrats to that.
Thank you. For those of you who want to find Cynthia, she's on Instagram at Cynthia Sassy, correct? And then
Sassy with an I, not a Y.
Sassy with an I, not a Y. And then what about the brand? Like, we have Fabulous Arizona, Fabulous California, Fabulous Wisconsin, Fabulous
Nevada, Iowa? Washington, and Iowa. Yeah.
Yes, love. And these are places you guys can follow to, like, if you're looking for different restaurants and places to go. Literally, I use your website all the time, especially around like clothing. Like, what should I wear to this event? Which is very helpful. So good.
Well, and this time of year, the holiday stuff is really good to go find all the fun holiday things to do.
Listen, I am sad. So Mark and I were kind of ghostwriters. Well, I guess we weren't ghostwriters. We actually had our name. I had my name on the website, and we got to go to all of these events where we get to eat for free. It was the best. And then, if you ever need me, I'm here still. Thank you guys for listening. If you like this information, please share this with someone who you think this would be helpful for, or give us a follow on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify. We love 5-star ratings and reviews. So please, if you'd like this to get out to more individuals, give us a little 5-star rating, and the algorithm, as you've talked about here, will put us out to more people. Give us a follow on Instagram at Mindset of Matter Coaching or fitbyamanda.az. And as always, if you leave here with one last thing, and only one thing, which would be very crazy if that was all you learned today, I want you to remember this. What you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.